up, people? It's your boy, the host with the most. I do not brag or boast. I'm coming to you guys live from coast to coast. It's your boy. I'm Chris the Don One. Welcome to Based on a True Story podcast. As always, rate, comment, subscribe, share this with a friend, family, as well as a follower. Let's get this channel lit in the podcast algorithm. You heard me? Can you hear me clearly? You can. Based on a True Story podcast, got a story for you guys real fast, real quick. Okay, so I'm gonna tell you the times that my co-workers were when co-workers attack. I'm gonna call this when co-workers attack. Okay, I got a whole bunch of co-worker stories. All right. So I used to work at Kroger on Charlotte. Okay, shout out to Kroger. Okay, I used to work at Kroger on Charlotte, and I just came out of high school. All right, and I was, going from trying to figure out where I'm gonna work at. So I put in an application at Kroger, got hired over there. Okay. Oh my God, here we go again. All right, so I'm gonna send it to you. So basically, damn, I don't lost my train of thought. So there was this. I got hired over there. So a week, I was there for like a whole week. So as I'm working, going through the process of training, with orientation to training, and then actual labor, I'm, getting familiar with the co-workers over there. So a couple of the co-workers was telling me about this store manager by the name of Bob Jones. Now, I thought I saw Bob Jones because I said, you talking about that guy right there, that older guy, that old shriveled up guy, and they said, no, that's not Bob. Now, from the stories I gathered from all these co-workers at this location, I get the sense that Bob is mean. Okay, he's a real angry, mean person. All right, he was sent from Satan. Okay, he came from Satan's womb. All right, he's the devil. He's got 3 6s on his forehead. All right, so from what I gathered from the stories that I gathered from this work by the store manager by the name of Bob Jones. Now, I never got introduced to him, and the stories I heard, Bob is a shrewd operator. So this one coworker was telling me the time when Bob was arguing with this lady by Myra Davis. Now, Myra Davis, is a nice old lady, sweet as she can be, haven't said a cuss word in her life, okay? One of those, sweet old white ladies, dig? So, and, she never done nothing to me. She never said anything wrong to me. I can't find nobody in the store that had a hating bone in their body on Myra Davis because she was a real good, sweet lady. Oh, shit, Jackie. All right, hold up. Sorry about that. So yeah, Myra Davis, sweet, nice lady, sweet old lady. So word around the campfire is Bob got into Myra, got into her ass in the middle of rush hour, arguing and yelling Myra Davis down while she was scanning out customers, and gotten so bad, Myra Davis started crying. She was crying in the middle of the sales floor on the most busiest day, all because there was not enough carts in the store. And Bob Jones was raging like a Cajun on Myra Davis. Nice, sweet, old lady, okay? Type of lady that will make apple pie, okay? So that's type of, that's how person I'm dealing with. Now, I have never met Bob Jones for a whole entire week. You dig what I'm saying? Never been introduced to him. I thought I saw him, but I didn't. So I come to find out Bob Jones is on vacation. And I found out like my 5th day working there. So I worked there 5 days. You get 2 days off. So I took my 2 days off, and they were back-to-back days. When I come back, it's like the beginning of next week. When I come back, I noticed a commotion at the service desk. All right. So I'm going like, that's odd. So I walk in, clock in. Myra was at the office, and she told me to go to Bob Jones wants to speak with you. I'm like, word? I'm like, all right. So I said to myself, I must have left an impression from the other managers, and maybe the other managers put in a solid, did me a solid, said some nice things about me. Maybe he wanted to be introduced, introduce myself to him, because he was on vacation. I'm thinking all, the good stuff. Okay. So I walk up to the service desk. I walked up to the front. Bob Jones is lashing out on these new workers. And then Bob starts tapping them on the shoulder. You no longer work here. You're going to, it was like 5 of them. 3 of the 5 were fired immediately. He just, tapped me. He said, you no longer work here. You no longer work here. You no longer work here. I'm like, word? What's going on? So I'm thinking this is going to be my last day here. I done work 5 days, and now I take 2 days off. I come back to a new week, and now I don't have a job. You dig what I'm saying? So I'm thinking that way, because I knew the fix. I thought the fix was in on me. Okay? So the other 2, he told them to get back to work. So when he turns to me, I'm saying I'm gonna give him the best impression imaginable. I'm saying, so I introduced myself. I said, hey, my name. I extended my hand. I said, hey, my name is Chris. And I heard your name is Bob Jones. And then he said, don't nobody calls me Bob Jones. It's Mr. Jones. And then I said, oh, I apologize. Excuse me, Mr. Jones. So I still extended my hand, and he's looking at my hand like my hand had shit on it or something. He didn't shake my hand. He just walked away. So, and he just gave me this weird look. Like he had a chop and screwed face. Like I done farted. And he just had a weird screw face to him. Like he was already disgusted with me. And all I did was I accidentally said his full name. Apparently, that's a huge no-no. Okay? You don't call Bob Jones Bob Jones. It's Mr. Jones, sir, or store manager, okay? You can't call him Bob Jones. He said only his friends call him Bob Jones. So he left an impression to me like I'm not his friend, therefore don't call me Bob Jones. Okay, so cool. All right. You learn from your mistakes, okay? So the next couple of weeks, I've been noticing, Bob was, watching me. I'll be up front, I'll be bagging. He'll walk by. I'll be doing some returns. I'll see him through the aisles. Okay. So I put 2 and 2 together. I'm saying like, man, this man watching me like a hawk. Okay. So Myra had me doing something. I forgot what she had me doing. And I said to myself, I'm going to go use the restroom. So I went and used the restroom. Went in the stall, used my restroom. Then I kept hearing Bob kept calling me to the front. So, I get up, I go to the sink, I wash my hands, I walk out the door. You dig what I'm saying? Now, when you young, you're on an immature level. Okay, you're not really on no mature level. When you young, you don't be really thinking stuff through. You don't really process stuff. And like I said, I walked out the restroom, walked up front, and Bob Jones coming to me. He said, so where you been for the past 15 minutes? I told him I went and used the restroom. He said, well, for now, let me know. And I said, well, Myra knew. And he said, well, I didn't know. I said, cool, all right? So I went back to work. 10 minutes later, this man comes looking for me. And then he says, oh, by the way, I went into the restroom to see if you really did use the restroom. So I went in the restroom and you forgot to flush the toilet. And that little turd that you left in there, it shouldn't took you 10 minutes to produce that turd, okay? Then walked off. One would assume that that's a jokey joke, but he looked dead serious when he said that, okay? Once again, when you mature, you don't really be thinking stuff through. You hear someone call your name, you forget things. I forgot to flush the toilet. I didn't do it on purpose. I did it on accident, all right? So Bob Jones had a thorn in his ass against me, okay? Why am I saying all this, okay? First time, the first incident I knew Bob was not right in the head, there was this dude named Talmadge. Now, Talmadge worked in the produce department. I will work in the produce department sometime. Talmadge is a cool dude. He's a cool white dude, all right? Older dude. Talked about his daughter going to college, becoming a doctor. Cool dude. Had no issues, anything like that. So it was like one time, I ain't have no money on me. I'm waiting on my check. We get paid every week, but that week was a struggle week. My whole check went to other things. So I didn't really have no money to extend for my next check. So, I didn't want to do this. So I asked, I didn't feel comfortable asking nobody for no money. I saw Talmadge, he's in produce, and I said, hey man, I hate to do this to you, but can I borrow some money from you? I swear I'll pay you back when I get paid in the next 3 days. He said, oh, ain't no problem, Chris. He gives me $30. I'm thinking he's gonna give me like $5, $10, He gives me $30 right off rip. And I'm going like, oh, I appreciate that. I'm going to pay you back. He said, don't even worry about it, Chris. Don't even worry about it. You can keep it, Like he's a cool white dude, So from that there on, I had no issues with Talmadge. If he wanted me to do something, I'm going to do it, no matter what he tells me to do. You dig what I'm saying? And if I have to stay over to complete a task, I'm going to do it for him. Because that's a stand-up dude. Dude's going to give you $30 right off the rip. You don't have to give them, they're not even looking for their money, okay? Even though I got paid, I was still trying to give him the money back. He wouldn't even accept it. He said, no, Chris, that's your money. You don't owe me no money. So, okay then. So, at least I tried to give him back his money. He didn't want it. Okay, cool. But like I said, stand-up dude. He a cool dude. He had no, he was just a cool dude, all right? So everybody liked Talmadge. Once again, nobody had an issue with Talmadge, all right? So I can remember this like it was yesterday. I'm walking, I clocked in, I'm walking heading the produce department, and there's a produce prep door, okay? So when you open up the produce prep door, you go into the produce room. I clock in, I'm feeling good. You dig what I'm saying? I had a fresh cut. I had them new J's on. I'm fresher than a mug. You know what I'm saying? So everything was good that day. I open up the prep room door. I walk into the prep room. I see Talmadge and Bob Jones arguing, going back and forth, which is not unusual because Bob Jones, he feels like the way he could communicate with people better is by arguing with them. So, no big deal. But I started noticing, you could tell that this argument was getting intense and it was getting louder. And as it was getting louder, other people from the back block started immediately going to the produce, trying to see what was going on. All right. So, Bob Jones said Talmadge said, look, Bob, I ain't got time to argue with you. I'm going to go back to work. So as Talmadge walks back to the prep room, to the prep table, Bob Jones said, hey, don't you dare turn your back on me like that. And Thomas just started, going back to work. And then he said, "You coward, you effing coward." And then it was like a light switch. I ain't never seen Thomas this mad before in my life. Thomas immediately, it went from 0 to 100. Light switch came on. Thomas turned around. He was charging right at Bob Jones. And then Bob Jones said, "Well, come on, motherfucker, come on," So it took like 6 people to hold Talmadge back. Because Talmadge I ain't never seen him that mad before, okay? He was pissed, okay? And he wanted a piece of Bob Jones, all right? So Bob Jones trying to edge it on, like, come on, motherfucker, come on, motherfucker. So there were 6 people holding Talmadge. And I was holding Bob Jones, but I was barely holding the Bob Jones. I was kind of, guarding him, like, oh, you too old for this. You ain't supposed to be doing. I'm holding Bob Jones with one arm. Bob Jones barely, trying to break free. If he wanted to break free, he could have break free from me. Oh, my God. So Talmadge is going back and forth with Talmadge is going at Bob Jones. Took 6 of him to bring down. I'm holding Bob Jones back. Bob Jones, he didn't want those problems. He did not want them problems. Now, word around the campfire is Bob Jones used to be a boxer back in the day. Bob Jones used to be a boxer back in the day. You dig what I'm saying? So, Bob, knowing that, and like, look, Bob Jones may have been a tough ass in his 20s, probably was a boxer, he probably was a boxer in his 20s, probably was a good fighter. In his 30s, he could still carry his own. But Bob Jones, you like 60, you dig what I'm saying? That time, you being a YN, those days are over with, okay? You're not the young tough thug, the tough guy no more, okay? You're just an old grandpa that likes to argue, okay? So you got to know your spot. You got to pick your spot. You got to know your place, okay? So, anywho, Bob Jones, like Bob Jones was just a tough MOB. So, the last story I can tell y'all about Bob Jones had issues with everybody. And he even had issues with corporate. So much so, corporate had enough of Bob Jones. His store was underperforming. And Bob was just being an ass about it. So they got rid of Bob Jones. Okay, they fired Bob Jones. So I can remember it. Like, I'm going up the steps to go get something. I see Bob, let's rewind it. So there's some people from corporate, they came in, they went upstairs and went to Bob Jones' office. Bob Jones already in the office. And you can tell, like, we have those 2-way mirrors where if the sun is positioned right, you can see what's going on in the office. So I'm looking in the office. I see Bob Jones sitting at his desk. I can tell it's Bob Jones because he had those thick bifocal glasses, okay? So Bob Jones, apparently it wasn't a pleasant discussion because they was going back and forth. You can tell that they were arguing. Bob Jones would point and did that and the third. The guy from corporate, he was pointing and talking back to Bob. Next thing I know, I'm going upstairs to get Myra's schedule book. As I'm going upstairs, Bob Jones coming downstairs with a banana box with all his possessions in it, okay? So as I'm going upstairs, Bob Jones is coming downstairs, and Bob Jones isn't trying to stop or wait for nobody. He's just coming down the stairs all viciously, like he's upset at the world, bumping back and forth to the wall, to the little thing that's the stand for the steps, bouncing back and forth. And I went, goddamn. So I got out of Bob Jones' way because I didn't want to get hit, accidentally. Okay. So Bob Jones went downstairs, Didn't say nothing to nobody. Didn't say bye. Didn't say hi. None of that shit. Okay. Drove in this little Ford F-150, and that's the last time I saw Bob Jones on as far as a manager go. I say all that to say this. I say this was like 10, 15 years later. Okay. I'm coming from the club. I got a shorty from the club. We go to this gas station, and we're getting our usual suspects, okay? Because we're trying to have an after party. After the show, it's the after party. So we're having a little after party, at my spot, okay? So I'm getting the usual suspects. I'm getting, because I already got vodka in the house, I'm getting orange juice, I'm getting condoms, I'm getting my usual suspects on. You dig what I'm saying? So as I go up to the register, to purchase all this stuff, guess who I saw? 10 years later, Bob Jones is now a gas attendant at this Quickie Mart location. He's much older. He done lost a lot of weight. And he still got those bifocal glasses, and he still got that look on his face, that mad look like he just got through shitting or something, okay? So I'm going like, hey, you remember me? And I pretty much look the same 10 years later. So I said, hey, do you remember me? Because I remember you. He gonna play it off saying, I don't know you. I said, man, you know who I am, Bob. I know that's you, Bob. So, yeah, I said all that to tell y'all the end of Bob's story, Bob Jones. And that was the last time I seen Bob Jones. Now, word around the campfire is Bob Jones done kicked the bucket. He's communicating with the worms. Okay. I hope he's in heaven. I hope, God takes him in, because if he don't, the devil will. Okay. But I don't wish bad luck on anybody. I hope he is, at heavens above. I hope he ain't arguing with God, because I know Bob Jones' temper, and he likes to be right all the time. So I'm telling you, Bob, if you're in heaven, just keep your mouth shut. That's all I'm saying. Just keep your mouth shut, okay? Well, that's all I got for this episode of Based on a True Story podcast. Hope y'all enjoyed it. As always, sorry it went off kind of rocky. It started off kind of rocky. It was kind of rocky in the middle, but hey, we got finished with the story. As always, rate, comment, subscribe, share it with a friend, family, as well as a follower. Let's get this channel lit in the YouTube algorithm. It's your boy. I'm gone. Deuces.